daddy issues. And I have one of my brothers here that I'm going to have this talk with. We're going to have this talk with. This guy is amazing. Like, he has a big heart. He just loves. You speak to him, you feel joy, you feel motivated, you feel like you're speaking to your father, literally, and in a good way. And his name is Braydon, and I want to welcome him. Clap, 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 clap. Welcome, bro. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored. I'm so honored. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Appreciate you.
Thank you for being here. I love you, bro. You see how I've been saying I love you, I love you. Man, learn how to say I love you to your brothers. Braydon,
Yes, sir.
I'm excited to have you here and to have this conversation of daddy issues. It's a very important conversation that I believe affects all of us, whether we know it or not. It implies so many things. And I've asked the question online, who believes that men can have daddy issues, right? And some people said that men cannot have daddy issues, right? There's that belief that daddy issues is only for women, right? Which is crazy to me. And then out of all the people that expressed that they did and they didn't or do have daddy issues, most of them that answered yes are women, right? So I had a bunch of people answer the question, can men have daddy issues? Some people said no. Most people said yes, right? And then I asked the questions, do you have daddy issues? And only women said yes. Now, this is weird to me.
Right.
This means that men believe that they can have daddy issues, but just not them. My brother can have daddy issues, but not me,
Not me.
right? So this raises the questions like, what is daddy issues, right? And the basic definition of daddy issues that I found online is the impact in our adulthood of the absence of a father when we were a child, right? Or the emotional absence of a father when we were a child. Because for me, I would say at some point in my life, I very clearly said that I have daddy issues, and I express that as I have an identity crisis. Now, I believe that for me, daddy issues is not something that you deal with just one time. You deal with daddy issues throughout your life in multiple ways, right? That's how I describe it. But I want to get to a point where maybe each and every one of us here realize that as men, we may have daddy issues one way or another, and we should be able to identify that. I think that is the issue here. So before we go into the conversation per se, I want us to hear about your experience, right? Your childhood. How did you grow up? Did you grow up with your father? If not, who did you grow up with? And did you have daddy issues? How did that express itself, right? Share a little bit of your experience, and then we'll go from there.
Wonderful. Well, first of all, hi guys. Happy to be with you guys. I'm honored, truly honored. Thank you so much for the opportunity. To answer your question, me growing up, man, it's a deep story. So I grew up with my mom, mainly with my mom. My parents split. I was before the age of 1, so I don't know my parents together. I saw my mom. First of all, we're 5 kids. I'm the oldest of 5. There's 3 different dads, 1 mom, right? So I'm the oldest. I have my own dad. The second, she has her own dad, and the last 3, they all share one dad. Okay. Now I watched my mom grow with these men, right? At least the 2 others. Um, for me personally, not having my dad around, it kind of, how to put it, it gave me, it made me question my identity as to why it is that my dad is not here, why it is that I get to see my sisters and my brother with their dad, but not me. Where's my dad, right? Because he was in Ottawa, and at the time we were living in Montreal, okay? But even before, if we backtrack a little bit, I remember as a kid, it's about to get real vulnerable. I remember as a kid, I watched my mom go through physical abuse. I remember this one night I woke up in the middle of the night to noises, right? And it was my stepdad at the time. They were fighting. They were physically fighting. My mom, you know my mom. She's super kind. But when the switch flips, right? It's a different person altogether. But at the end of the day, a man is a man and a woman is a woman. At the end, I mean, naturally, the man is stronger, right? So I woke up and walked into the living room and saw this man on top of my mom, and I couldn't see exactly the position because there was the armrest in a way, right? But his arms were higher, and he was kind of like he had his body on top of her in a sense. By the way, I have no consent to talk about this, so mommy, for watching this, I love you. I'm sorry I didn't talk to you about it first. Anyways, yeah. So then my mom was yelling, "Braydon, call the police! Call the police!" And at the time, I was probably like 7, 6, 7, right? Um, and growing up, having that in the back of my head, it made me a violent child, right? I was always very nice. I was always very kind. But when you angered me. And the wrath came out. Still, I have that side inside of me, but I learned how to control it over time. We'll get into that, right? So growing up, I was the violent child. I was often suspended for all kinds of reasons. Um, because my dad wasn't around and there was nobody to teach me how to be a man, how to grow up and be a guy, and I grew up with my sisters and my mom. Obviously, they're feminine, so I grew up with this more sensitive side of me. There was more of an emotional side to me. There was more of a feminine side to me, right? Still until this day, I don't know why, but it takes me 2 hours to get ready. They'll say, what are you doing? I truly can't explain it to you. I just shower, wash my face, and I look up and it's 5 p.m. It started at 3 and it's 5. I can't explain it. I truly can't. Um, and it's not like I'm doing anything crazy. It's basic stuff, it's basic and whatever.
One thing that you said that for me is interesting in this conversation is that you mentioned that as a child you were violent, right? And maybe to some of us that's a way to realize that we may have daddy issues.
That's
It
right.
may
That's
express
right.
itself in our anger,
Right.
or we're sad all the time, we don't know why, or maybe you're taking 2 hours to get ready, or I don't know. Like, I think it's very important to identify something in us that can maybe express daddy issues.
Yeah.
Do you have maybe other personal examples or examples that you see in your siblings that would express that issue in oneself?
Too many. Um, well, first of all, just to go back to what you said, I was like that because I just imitated what I saw, but without actually understanding that's what was going on. It was an unconscious thing, right? So, like you said, it is an example of daddy issues. To answer the question you just asked me, so my siblings, obviously they grew up, so just to go forward, my siblings, they grew up without their dad. The three last, they grew up without their dad. They're still growing up without their dad. They have no idea as to where he is. We have no idea where he is. But it's crazy because though they look at me like their father, and by that, what I mean is my youngest sister, she's before last, and she actually came up to me one day and she was like, I don't need my dad because you're my dad, right? And this is insane because I'm her brother. I'm only 24 years old. What do I know about being a father? She's 10 years younger than I am. That means when I was 10, she was born. What do I know about being a father, right? On a regular basis at home, we just have conversations, and what comes up is when I get married, Braydon will walk me down the aisle. But is that, you know what I mean? Those are just two examples, just to answer your
Yeah,
question.
I see what you're saying there. I guess I have two questions.
Right.
Today, as a 24-year-old man that even has siblings that look at you as a father, how do you experience daddy issues even today? Because I feel like daddy issues is not something that is only, it happens once, you realize you have them and you deal with them. You have to look for it under different circumstances. Okay, in this circumstance, I'm angry. In this circumstance, I don't know what to do. I'm lost. I don't know how to raise children. I'm just 24, right? How do you realize today that you still have work to do? What do you have work to do with today?
Honestly, to me, that's very simple. For me personally, it's very simple. Just because I have a whole lot of questions that I have nobody to answer them, right? I never grew up with somebody telling me this is what it has. And it goes with the two conversations we had prior to this. I don't have the I didn't, those principles were engraved into me growing up. I never had somebody to tell me, Braydon, that's not how you're supposed to do it. For me, that's probably the main way that I understand that I still deal with this. I remember growing up, I was probably around the age of 16, and my dad had come. I don't remember what he came for. By the way, he is in my life. He is in my life. Just to make it clear, he had come over, I think, to drop off certain things. And at that time, I had a whole lot of questions. I remember in those teenage, that's like, that's like the height of teenage, around 16 years old. I had all these questions. Why did you leave? What happened? Why do I have to see all my friends with their parents? And me, I'm just here with mom, but where are you?
Yeah.
First of all, that's a sign that there is daddy issues. Just the fact that you have that crisis. Anyways, he came over and I had all these questions, and growing up with girls, I was more emotional. And so what happened is I started talking and talking and talking, and then I just exploded and cried. I was just crying. And I'll never forget it. He told me, but Braydon, you don't have to cry for everything. You don't need to cry. And I said, but it is a natural thing. So I shouldn't have to feel like I did. And from that day, he never saw me cry again. Still today, he still has never seen me cry again.
Well, I think that's very interesting because, and one thing that you said, right, it's today you still have questions that you don't know who to ask. I think that's one way to recognize that in our lives that we may have daddy issues. If we don't have someone to go to answer those questions as a man to help you go through life, that might be that you're missing a key element, right? It might not be your natural father, but it could be someone that you look at as a father figure that you should be able to go to,
Right.
a mentor, to guide you through those moments and even to remind you of who you are.
Right.
I think being a father is having the ability to show someone's identity to themselves, right? And I feel like that's why even as adults, if you want to look at your own life and see if you have daddy issues, me personally, I had my father. He was there. He was just an African father, so he was not there emotionally, right? He provided, he did all these things. He's a great father, but I still grew up with identity issues because I didn't have someone to go to say, show me who I am, teach me this, give me answers to this, right? So it might even be that you don't have someone to go to. So some way, somehow, I would say that's daddy issues, right? Now, one thing that I wanted to mention that I've really been thinking about is something I call the purity of personality,
Wow.
right? Why do I say that? Because right now I have a child. I have
Right.
a young man. He's 2 years old. He's pure. He's himself.
Yeah.
He's joyful. He likes to go outside and do a bunch of things. I'm able to see who he is today, right? And I understand that he's showing me who he is. But the more he grows up, he'll forget who he is. And he'll have experiences that'll mess up who he is. Now, as a father, I have the role to tell him, this is who you are. You're a joyful person. You're a curious person. You're an intelligent person. If you don't have someone in your corner doing that for you, I bet that you have daddy issues, right? And would you say that for you, you often go into your childhood to understand who you are today? Is that something that you do a lot to try to navigate life?
100%. I look at all of my circumstances, all the situations that happen on a daily basis, and I kind of try and find it in the back of why could that be. For example, growing up, this is actually not even, it's a few years ago, just high school days, I couldn't, I related more to women than I did to men. That's just because I grew up with women, right? So I understood, I feel like I understood women at the time, right? And there was never anything that related me to men other than sports, right? So whenever I was one-on-one with a man, we'd lose conversations very fast. But when I was with a woman, there was anything to talk about, and that kind of links with the fact that I always had a girlfriend. In high school, I never did more than 1 month without a girlfriend. There was always someone lined up. There was always a lineup. And I'm just looking at it. I never had nobody to tell me, Braydon, there's certain things that are done a certain way. And men, we need that. We actually need someone in our corner telling us this is how things are done. Because at the end of the day, we're direct people. Men are direct people compared to women. They like to go around the bush a whole lot. They'll like to talk, talk, talk. How was your day? But this happened and that happened. But men, how was your day? It was good.
Yeah.
And that's it. We have nothing else to say. And so we need all that to say that we need that a man figure that'll be like, this is what this is, that's what it is, this is what this is. You shouldn't do that because of this. You should do this instead because of that. But I didn't have that. And so growing up, I always looked for confirmation and affirmation in the people that I knew, which are women.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answers your
That
question.
answers the questions, and thank you so much for that. Clap for him. Clap for him. Clap for him. Thank you.
So my
Thank
question
you.
was, let's say you grew up in a family where your father kind of used to compare yourself to other children, and he didn't really allow you to just be to accept you the way you are at your, and just let's say you're 10 years old and you bring him the grade you got at your math test, and then you, let's say you got a 10 out of 20, and then he's gonna be like, but you could have gotten 18 or 20 out of 20, you know what I mean? And growing up, obviously, it's gonna develop a sort of lack of confidence in yourself, and you're just gonna get to think that maybe I'm not smart enough, or what's the issue with me? Like, I'm doing my best, but like I just feel like I'm never able to actually succeed or be at my best. And my question is, when you grow through all this process, obviously it's gonna create some insecurities in you, some lack of confidence and stuff like that. And obviously, when you get to a stage of your life, let's say where you're trying to find a job and stuff like that, it's gonna start manifesting itself. You know, let's say you're like working in an organization, and you have the role to lead a team, and the fact that you have like this lack of confidence, you don't really know how to talk to people or to go or see them. And I would say, is it a good thing to, let's say, do therapy, or maybe I don't know, see a psychologist or someone that's gonna help you to deal with
That's an amazing question. First of all, therapy should be for everybody. It should honestly, I feel like it should be a free thing for everybody, because everybody at some point in time, for anything, you need therapy. Therapy is, it's medicine almost, right? I think it's important, and I feel like in the black community specifically, we don't believe in it. We think that it's whatever. It's for other people. It's for anybody but my family. Meanwhile, we're probably the ones with the most trauma, and so therapy is probably is the greatest thing. I think sitting down with your pastor is probably the first thing that you should do, as and seek for guidance. Seek for guidance and your circle. Another thing that's very important is the people that you surround yourself with. Because if you have a circle of people that can be like, no, you're great at this. You're great at that. I believe in you. I think that you can do it. You might have done this time, but I think you could do better. I think you have it in you. It's in you. You just need that boost of confidence. You need those people who believe in you. You just need somebody to believe in you. But to answer your question, yes, therapy is great.
Yeah, I got a question. Just so for you, what would be like an ideal relationship between father and son? I'm asking this because the dynamic is so it's interesting. It's based off of fear, discipline, expectations, and the reason why I'm sharing this is just because, like, obviously growing up, like, I'm pretty sure we all got, spanked and beat and whatever by by our mothers, but our fathers, like, they go ham with the belt and all that stuff. So, but now, at my age right now, and luckily my father is still alive, and but the relationship is not there, right? There's no relationship. There's a lot of time that could have been constructed in like relational building when I was younger, when I needed him, when I was a teenager. But it was just like straight to business. If you did something bad, you get disciplined. If you, like my brother mentioned, if you bring a bad note, it wasn't flying, you could have done better. There's expectations. But then when you get older, there's no relationship. So for you, like what's an ideal relationship, since we're speaking about daddy issues, between the relationship between father and son? What does that look like?
That's a great question. First of all, I think it starts with understanding your child and your child's needs, right? I think all kids, we're 5 kids in my family. We're 5 kids, but none of us are the same. Of course, right? We're all unique in our ways, and I think it starts with understanding what your child needs in that moment, or just in general. And so for me, the perfect relationship with that I can envision with my father would be someone who to sit down with me and just talk to me, talk to me. I think we try and overcomplicate things, right? We try and complicate it, but really, if we just sit down and just say, "What's up? What do you think about this?" As a matter of fact, me and my siblings, we love to do that. We sit down on a regular basis and we talk about anything. As a matter of fact, Clay is a witness. I do that with him. I just sit down and, "Clay, what do you think about this?" And so I kind of get that father figure in a sense through Clay, right? It's just, for me, that's what it looks like. It's someone that I can just go to and talk to and just tell them, "I have this, I think this, I think that, what do you think?" And whenever I'm wrong, it's someone to correct me, someone to put me in line. I'm a direct person. If you don't like something, just tell me to my face you don't like it. So that's what I want, right? I don't want nobody to go running around the bush. Yeah, okay, so tell me, type thing. So that's what it would look like for me. It's just someone that I can communicate with, that could communicate back with me. That's what it would look like. Just communication.
Oh, clap for my brother. Thank you so much, Braydon. Thank you.